next speaker for this afternoon is Mr. Kevon Swift from LACNIC, who will be telling us more about his organization and about what are internet numbers. Please welcome him to the podium.
Good afternoon again, everyone. I was very fascinated with the video that Albert showed. I always think that ICANN has these very snazzy videos, and I saw a good friend of mine, Karel, from Trinidad and Tobago, starring in the video. So I'm sure pretty soon he'll be recruiting actors from this room for the next ICANN production. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about LACNIC and also this thing called internet numbers, but I'm really not trying to scare you because I hope you'll come straight through to Thursday. And to deal with this, I think I will start with this second concept first. What are internet numbers? So this here is the very scary slide I was talking about. You would have heard these terms IPv4, IPv6, and then there are these things about 32-bit number, and yes. Simply put, there are every device that connects to the internet needs a number. There are two protocols that exist at this time, one called IPv4 and another one called IPv6. And then every network or groups of networks that need to connect to the internet need another number called an autonomous system number. So all of this, have no fear. We're not really going to concentrate on this right now. Yes, it is scary, but do know machines use numbers, but people remember names. Plain and simple. So now we're going to focus a bit about the registry and exactly what we do. We are one of 5 regional internet registries, and a regional internet registry is simply an organization that manages the allocation and registration of internet number resources, that IPv4, IPv6 thing, and the ASNs, within a particular region of the world. And of course, we mention here what those internet number resources are. So there are 5 regional internet registries in the entire world. And how this evolved, first came the one in Europe, RIPE NCC. And RIPE NCC services Europe, Central Asia, Russia, and the Middle East. It started in 1992, and their head office is in Amsterdam. And then in 1993 came this other one, LACNIC, for the Asia Pacific, with their office in Brisbane, Australia. And then thirdly, we have in 1997 ARIN, which is the American Registry for Internet Numbers. They are based in Reston, Virginia. And then came LACNIC in 2002 with our head office in Montevideo, Uruguay. And last but not least, AFRINIC in Mauritius, which is quite over here in the Indian Ocean, which was established in 2005. So what happened is that ARIN, the American Registry for Internet Numbers, used to serve the entire continent. And a couple of organizations from Latin America went to ICANN and invoked a policy dealing with coordination of resources, and we were able to create LACNIC from that. And what happened in that transition? Simply put, there was a communique that went out asking anyone who was interested in joining LACNIC, and we have an interesting area of service. That area of service, you see it here, it covers from all of Latin America and then parts of the Caribbean. And the parts of the Caribbean in that include Guyana, Belize, Trinidad and Tobago, and we also have the Spanish-speaking Caribbean, Dominican Republic, and Cuba. Puerto Rico happens to be a North American territory, so they're with ARIN. And we also have the French-speaking Caribbean in terms of Haiti, and we consider French Guyana to be part of that catchment. And of course, all of the Dutch-speaking Caribbean, meaning the Caribbean, Netherlands, and Suriname. So back to LACNIC. We are a not-for-profit organization. The names part of the internet is all about commercial schemes. It's all about getting .Guyana for use. It's all about that $50 million price tag. We are not-for-profit. What that means is that any entity that wants resources from us, they actually pay for use of the entity, but it's still in a not-for-profit scheme. We distribute numbers. We coordinate the policy development of how those numbers should be distributed and managed. We do something called reverse DNS. All that means is that for an email to function, it has to come to our database, the WHOIS database, in order for that email to go out. And we invest heavily in capacity building and outreach. We do capacity building among technicians at ISPs, among technicians at universities, and we do outreach activities like this to really explain what the internet is about and to ensure that we have this multi-stakeholder environment where everyone could come together and discuss ideas. And we have a number of cooperation activities, development projects that we work on. So we use particular terms in this internet field, and some of these terms here, in a LACNIC context, we say community means anybody with an interest in internet numbers. That seems a bit very broad, but it's exactly that. So anyone in the world, not necessarily from Latin America and the Caribbean, but anyone who has an interest in internet numbers in this region can participate. So at our meetings, people from Spain, people from Canada, people from the US, they come to our meetings to hear how internet numbers are distributed in the LACNIC region. And this is a bottom-up, self-regulating community, meaning that the community decides who should be the policy chairs or who should be on a particular committee. It's the community that decides all of that. The next term that we use are members. And members refer to people who have IP addresses. So members, they're usually the paying members. Remember I say you pay for use of a number? And I guess the rooster, he isn't a member, but he can be part of the community. So anyone that wants to use an internet number and get access to the services for that number, they are considered a member. We have, for the most part, paying members, and we have some non-paying members, which we call legacy members. They have internet addresses, and that's because of old historic relations with LACNIC. We have commissions that oversee how things run within the community, the Electoral Commission, for all of the positions that become available to ensure that the process runs smoothly, and the Fiscal Commission overseeing money issues. We have a board of directors. Our current president is Mr. Wardner Meyer from Brazil, and the current board is comprised of folks from Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, and Mexico. And our staff right now, we're over 50 professionals that work in 3 languages and that hail from the number of countries that you see there: Uruguay, Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, Venezuela, and well, Trinidad and Tobago, right here. Our Caribbean membership, so the members that we have, there are roughly 6,000, and out of that 6,000, 140 come from the Caribbean. But do know that when it comes to policy development, anyone, those Caribbean members, anyone, they are on equal footing to be able to make real changes as to how these policies should be developed. Take, for instance, the allocation size for address space. If, for example, that the rest of the community, which is comprised of very large countries, agree to an allocation size that a small country may never have use for, it is very simple for anyone from the Caribbean to go to a LACNIC meeting and make an argument for the allocation size to be reduced because of what is the practical usage of internet resources by that small member. And interestingly, one of the things we have recently done, we have created something called micro and nano members, which actually contemplates the needs of smaller members, and particularly those that we find in areas like the Caribbean. So now on to our activities. Our key activities: the distribution of those number resources, the coordination of the policy development process, that's how the numbers, they are distributed and managed. The reverse DNS service and maintaining the WHOIS database, other technical services, We have capacity building, we have development projects, and we also participate in internet governance spaces. We are one of the key founders for the LAC-IGF, which is a regional IGF meeting for Latin America and the Caribbean, and we still serve as a secretariat to that space. How numbers are distributed globally. Mind you, these are all very high-level slides, and during the week, especially on Thursday for LACNIC on the Move, we will go into more detail. So Albert mentioned ICANN's role in coordinating various parts of the internet. The coordination of numbers and names and protocol parameters, they come under an entity under ICANN called the Guyana, which is the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. And they have global policy that distribute large blocks of numbers to the RIRs. The RIRs are then tasked with getting their community together to discuss how these numbers should be distributed among ISPs and among other end users. So ISPs are there, they are members. Other end users could be, for instance, a university, an operator of an internet exchange point. Anyone that is interested in developing an advanced network can come and get numbers directly from us. And this here is that PDP, that policy development process. When you come to a LACNIC meeting, one of the key features of the LACNIC meeting is the policy forum. And how that policy forum plays out is way before the policy forum, there's a discussion that happens online via a mailing list. And with that discussion online, you speak to other people from the community to pitch an idea, to pitch a particular concept that could become a LACNIC policy. You're then encouraged to fill out a policy proposal template that is available on our website. And then that template is discussed on the policy mailing list for a long while, as long as it takes, up until 4 weeks before a LACNIC event. At the LACNIC event, that's when you actually present your policy and you seek the consensus of your community. The community can say, yes, great. They may say, needs further review, or they may just say, not a good idea. And then once it's approved at that policy forum, the board of directors, they are tasked with ratifying the policy, ensuring that due process was followed, and that the policy does not contravene with any existing, any critical regulation that runs LACNIC. And we, the staff, we simply implement this. But this entire process, which may seem a bit daunting right now, is very much facilitated with persons in our community called policy shepherds. So a shepherd is simply that. A shepherd is someone that you can speak with that will guide you along step by step in how you present a policy. The shepherd can recommend that you do a webinar to explain the different aspects of your policy, and the shepherd holds your hand, especially if it's the first time that you're coming into the LACNIC meeting environment. Mailing lists matter. Everything that LACNIC does always starts with a mailing list, and we have mailing lists for different themes. Our key theme, of course, is those policies I mentioned, but we also have mailing lists looking at Caribbean issues, women in ICT, network security, LAC-IX, which is the group of IXPs in the Latin America and Caribbean region, FLIP6, which is an IPv6 task force, discussing how IPv6 is implemented by various entities across the region, and LACNOG, which is a network operators group, very much like CARIMNOG, but on the wider Latin American scale. And our two meetings that occur per year, we have a meeting in spring, or actually fall, if we look at it from a Uruguay context, the Southern Hemisphere. And that meeting is a more general meeting where we have our AGM, we have technical tutorials, we have panels on internet governance. It's a meeting that I would encourage all of you to come out to. The next meeting will be in Panama City from the 23rd to the 27th of April. And 3 months before the meeting, we always advertise fellowships. And those fellowships, they cover your airfare, they cover your accommodation to come to a LACNIC event, and we waive the registration fees. So Of course, just as Albert is saying, there are actually very few representatives from the Caribbean at these meetings. Luckily, I always see the Caribbean representatives, usually could count them on one hand, and we try to come together and encourage them to continue participating or to spread the word. What I am tasking you with is to look out, go to our website. That's going to be in April, so go to our website in January, find the link for the fellowships, apply, and with all certainty, just like in Albert's case, an email comes to me. Is this person interested in this? Should they get a fellowship? And I will obviously tell you yes. Of course, please let me know who you are before I just get a random email. That usually helps. And again, our second meeting, the fall meeting, that occurs in September, and that is to take place at a location to be determined. Capacity building. Capacity building is a key activity for us. And our capacity building rolls out in two ways. We have in-presence capacity building. And for the in-presence capacity building, what we do is that you write to LACNIC, you write to training@lacnic.net, and you tell us your idea for a capacity building workshop. We look at our expertise, we have a discussion with a coordinating partner on the ground, and we set up our workshop. And the topics that we have discussed over the years include IPv6. We also have a specific workshop for cybersecurity called Amparo. We recently collaborated with entities in Suriname for a cyber drill in July, and we are happy to do something like that in Guyana and do it anywhere once there's a demand. We also have online capacity building, and our online campus thus far has 3 courses: basic IPv6, advanced IPv6, and testing IPv6. Basic IPv6 is open to anyone who wants to find out what IPv6 is. Advanced IPv6, as the name says, it's limited to our members, and so to testing IPv6. But all of you here in Guyana, you're eligible for advanced and testing IPv6 once you register, once these courses become available. The second and third course, they are available, and they do come at a small price, but basic IPv6 is absolutely free. We have development projects such as FRIDA. FRIDA is the Regional Fund for Innovation, and Development in Latin America and the Caribbean. And FRIDA has 3 types of support. The first type are the FRIDA Awards, where we recognize a project that does have a huge impact within a community. And in addition to the recognition of that project, we award you $5,000 US. We have a grants program where you come up with your proof of concepts and you show how this project will solve a particular issue. An example of this was a recent project last year dealing with e-agriculture that was proposed by the University of the West Indies based in St. Augustine. And with the grants program, you can win between $20,000 to $30,000 US. And then we have the scale-up program. So you've already done your proof of concept, your project works, but you want to carry it further. You want to spread your project from Georgetown straight through Guyana to Linden and other areas. You want to take your project from one territory and carry it to another territory because you see potential for it. And with the scale-up support, you are eligible to get up to $40,000 US in support for that scale-up. So FRIDA is advertised every year at usually around April or March or April. And we really do look forward to seeing these innovative ideas come from the Caribbean. This year, we actually had 2 awards distributed and 1 grant. The awards dealt with ammonia, a project from Cuba, Coding Rights, which dealt with women and women's rights represented in code, which came from Argentina, if I'm not mistaken. And we had an interesting grant, which was a project from the National Telecommunications Commission of Dominica, where they wanted to use weather stations and the Internet of Things and make use of freely available meteorological data to track the impact of climate change. This grant was given 2 weeks before Hurricane Maria. And the test case is more than apparent, and we are still we're trying to contact and still maintain this, because I think more than ever, this project needs to be realized. Last but not least, I think I'll forego the video for saving time. This is our IATIC Goes Global, and we have been making interventions in Haiti to train up internet technicians, people working at the ISPs, to be able to build networks and secure those networks. IoT Goes Global is a bit different. There's that component of technical training for technicians, and we are also looking at training school-leaving girls in particular fields and particular skill sets that will allow them to take advantage of opportunities in the digital economy. The idea is that we train them in these skill sets, and they're able to work remotely for companies that are based in North America. So that is currently underway, and over the next couple of months, we will hear more of IETIC Goes Global. LACNIC on the Move, which we will have on Thursday, so we'll speak more to that. LACNIC on the Move is this education series that we go through in Central America and the Caribbean to explain what LACNIC is, what are internet numbers, and how you can become involved. And we have a support program for internet governance called Líderes, which started all of this year. If you and 2 other stakeholders are interested in having an internet governance discussion, you are free to send us a request. You go to the website, go to the LACNIC website, then the community tab, then internet governance, and you can make an application for Líderes, which we can support you financially, we support you with resources, with speakers, we support you with communication activities, we support you anyhow, providing that you have a internet governance idea, a topic, a discussion, a group that you want to promote here. So, useful links, and ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you, and I think, as Donella said, we will keep the questions for afterwards.